Financial wellness. Reach out to them for advice at 855-DON-GINO. And now back to your hosts, Don Getling and Gino Franti.
McNamara with Comfort Keepers in-home care, and it's in-home care, and it's now licensed. I love that you have to. You've always been licensed. You've already been above board.
Well, I haven't been licensed because there was no such animal.
But I mean, you've already done all these things that they're requiring.
We've already exceeded, most all of the licensure requirements, and I say most all because, real quick, is there's a newly formed home care aid registry that anybody who works in the home care industry has to be background and fingerprinted, and has to have TB testing, and has to have all these things to be actually on the registry as a home care aid to work with any company. I mean, they don't have, and it's almost like they have their license to work in the home care industry, in their background check and their TB testing, and then as far as an agency now, there's additional ongoing training on an annual basis that we do, again, which we did anyway, but anybody who suspects, I mean, if you're using an agency now and you suspect that they're not following the new regulations, there is a number that I don't have on the top of my head, so you can certainly reach out to me, but you can call the California Department of Social Services and report them, because if they're not licensed, then they're putting you and your family and your aged ones, loved ones at risk. But every home care aide needs to be on the state registry to be able to work in the home care industry. And every home care organization has to have a license displayed.
Now, you mentioned something that's interesting, because it is good that they're getting fingerprinted and background checked and all of that, because you're letting these people into your home or into your parents' home. Or
unsupervised.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I think that's a really, really good move. I know that it's complicated and a nuisance right now, and I'm not a big fan of huge government, but in this piece, it kind of sounds like it's a good thing. It was pretty much, it was a good thing for us in the mortgage industry to have licensing.
We welcomed it for sure.
Yeah. And the downside is it probably will raise the cost of home care a tad, because there's a lot of new expenses coming in for, not only the licensure fees, but the ongoing training that's up the payroll for a lot of companies, and the fingerprinting and the TB testing. And I mean, all these things go into, putting in what do you charge the senior for the hourly service.
I think hopefully the idea is that in our industry it definitely did. It definitely shook out some of those that shouldn't have been in the industry in the first place.
Right. And then one thing that you talked about, Don, and we can segue that now, is, I mean, home care is not always, and obviously I would love to have everybody's business, but I mean, as far as educating our seniors and their families, home care may not be the best option. I mean, sometimes it's, worth researching and find out what the best option is for you and your aging loved one. But one thing that's missed a lot, not only for home care, but even if it's assisted living or board and cares, which we can talk about in a second, is people are overlooking the fact that this generation are probably veterans. And there's so much out there for veterans as far as aid and attendance, as far as maybe service-connected benefits from the VA. Anybody who was ever boots on the ground in Vietnam, automatically there's the Agent Orange factor, is possibly a service-connected benefit that comes their way. Aid and attendance there's a qualification process, but it can bring money to even a surviving spouse of a veteran that they can spend on care. Be it home care, be it, if it could assist in assisted living or board and care. But there's a lot of options out there, but a lot of things, one of the first things we ask our intakes when they call is mom or dad or, any of them ever been in the service? And again, there's some qualifications. It has to be, at least one day during wartime, and there are some income qualifications and type stuff, but especially service-connected. A lot of people overlook service-connected benefits that our veterans are entitled to.
Yeah, we have a similar thing in the mortgage industry, right? We ask all the time now, by chance, are you a veteran? Because it was something that for many years wasn't used in our industry, and it's one of the best loans in the country for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so if you've got veteran benefits, but you should not be looking at almost any other loan product. I mean, there's some exceptions, but almost always, if you have veterans benefits, you should be using your VA loan to purchase a home.
Right. Nothing like getting in for basically zero down and possibly no money out of your pocket.
Not only that, the rate's just absolutely fantastic. So it's very, very good program.
Monthly mortgage insurance. It's a great program.
Yeah.
All right. So before I forget, because you have so much knowledge, so much experience in this industry, I think a lot of you out there, I'm sorry, but are probably dealing with our aging, population, our parents, our grandparents, and so forth.
Business
you need
partner.
a great resource. See, I knew that was coming.
He's waiting for it this time.
Hey, man.
So you need a great resource, and we trust Myles. We know Myles. Myles is a good friend of ours. He's always been up front, a great giver in our community, too, always involved in our community, a good resource. How can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, we have a local number. Imagine that. It's 661, of course, 287-4200. We do have our massive website of comfortkeepers.com, but we have our microsite that's more kind of in tune with our local office, and a lot of YouTube videos, as we talked about, for education and most frequently asked questions, and that's seniorcaresantaclarita.com.
Okay.
But yeah, call me anytime. I mean, there's questions that spring up. We talked briefly about if home care is not an option. You know, a lot of people don't quite understand how board and cares work versus an assisted living facility. Obviously, a lot of our seniors want to stay in their own home, but if that starts to be not cost effective or possible, board and cares and assisted livings, we have beautiful assisted livings here in Santa Clarita. It might be the best option, you know. So again, preparation is knowledge, and knowledge is power. To steal the tagline from my radio show, it's just you need to get the information. You need to make an educated decision, and the biggest, toughest pendulum switch in our life we've talked about before is when you start parenting your parents.
Right.
Sometimes you have to show them the respect, you have to show them the dignity, but sometimes the decisions that they make may not be the best. So how do you approach that with dignity and respect? You know, sometimes they want to be left alone in their own home, but it's not safe. So you really can't just, I'm not going to say not respect their wishes, because again, that doesn't sound very respectful, but you know it's not safe, and they can't be home alone. So how do you approach that? There are geriatric care managers out there. I have care managers in my office. There's different approaches. How do you maintain their independence but still make sure they get the help they need? You know, again,
so many variables. My goodness.
Yeah, and one of the toughest too is when it's time to take those keys away. You know,
Right.
when it's no longer safe for them to drive.
I talk about that with my grandfather. You know,
We took
he did
Gino's
not
away years ago.
should have. You know, he didn't want to give up the keys. He didn't want to give up the keys. And one day he just never drove again. And we all wonder, what happened?
What did he hit?
What happened that none of us know about that he just never drove again? Right.
All right. Again, give your information, because I think you should reach out to Myles McNamara with Comfort Keepers, a great resource regarding elder care and so much more. Just a great resource. Again, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, our office is on Lyons Avenue, 23900 Lyons, 661-287-4200, or go to seniorcaresantaclarita.com.
All right. I wish we had more time. We'll keep bringing you back on. Plus, you can go to our YouTube channel. A lot of great YouTube videos and interviews with Myles McNamara, sharing with you what you need to know about basically elder care and so much more.
And if I may,
sure.
jump to hometownstation.com, go to the archived
yeah.
podcasts, and all our Aging with Power shows are archived there as podcasts, and you can look at whatever title or subject line interests you, and that's hometownstation.com, and just follow the clicks to the podcast.
Don's going to kill me because I'm using up more time, but not only is it for elder care, if you've been in an accident and you need any help around the house because you're disabled in any way, shape, or form, you can also reach out to Myles Company.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Myles.
My pleasure.
Always
guys.
a pleasure having you aboard, and also one of our APRG members. So check us out at aprgi.com, because he's our man. Thanks again, buddy. And all of you, have a great weekend. Hopefully you're not frying today. And way to go, USA.
We'll see about that. My prediction is the Chile-Argentina final in the rematch of last year.
All right. Have a great weekend and be good humans.